one of my mentors in college. She mentioned, you know, angels as signposts, and so that there are these people in your lives that help point you towards where you're supposed to be going, even though if you have no idea where you're going, or you think you have an idea. And um, I could recognize that I had these angels and signposts that were pointing me home, but I'd always thought that it was there and it was in theater. But when I started looking outside of the career that I was in at one point, that was really stressful, really unbalanced. I decided that it was time to really do a deep dive and come back to where I felt most grounded. And the way for me in fully was by coming to Friends Journal. My name is Sarah Waxman. I live in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and I've been working for Friends Publishing Corporation since 2012. So my religious experience has been a coming into and out of Quakerism my whole life, and my journey has taken many twists and turns. And while it started at Chestnut Hill Monthly Meeting, it really grew when I would go when I was in high school and junior high to young friends gatherings that was led by, at the time, Cookie Caldwell. And that had a really strong impact on me because I felt like I belonged there. I felt like I belonged with the people that were there. We were just, as teenagers, when someone really respects you and wants to hear what your opinion is, it for me was life-changing, and I looked forward to those gatherings every month. It was like a reprieve, an oasis. I knew when I was going that it wasn't going to be anything like high school, and I could just let all those insecurities from high school go. After I graduated from first day school and from high school and young friends, I went away to school, and theater had always been a huge part of who I was and another pillar to myself and to who I am. And so I decided to go to school for the study of English and theater arts, and I took on a minor in secondary education because I felt that, the experience of young friends and how I was treated was something that I wanted to carry into the world. The theater making process was really a way into understanding other people and in telling stories. And it felt spiritual. It felt, like an extended worship sharing sometimes. And, the way that you can make connections with someone on stage or backstage when you're putting on a show or building something, it's very present, and it has to be respectful, and you're doing something for a greater purpose. And so while I never spoke about it, I was never like, that's God. Because of my Quaker upbringing, I was always moved by that, and I always respected that, and it was always there that, the next yes and or the next impulse was coming from somewhere greater than the two of us, or the ensemble, or the booth or whatever. So but it was a very it's a very impassioned and stressful business. And so I feel like I grew out of that, and I really needed to respect the the calling that I had, which wasn't necessarily in secondary education, which I originally thought, or in theater, which I was originally thought. It was still in storytelling and in the sharing of experience, just in the form of the written word. So being part of a faith community now, and I consider Friends Publishing as part of my faith community, a huge part of it. It connects me with the things that I'm incredibly passionate about. One of those things is the Alternatives to Violence Project, which when I moved to New Jersey, there was a New Jersey chapter, and you know, it's finding people who are your people that care enough to move the work forward in a way that is driven, purpose filled, and rest upon what has come before. So having, I'm not a Quaker historian or theologian, but having all of those stories and experience that came before us to then come together, find each other as friends, as ensemble builders, storytellers, people who are just very passionate about making change. That is definitely something that I found in Quakers and in a Quaker community that speaks to me and helps drive me forward. And there is a lot of storytelling, a lot of theater building in what we do as Quakers. We just don't call it that.
Thanks for watching this QuakerSpeak video. We release a new video every Thursday. You can watch all our videos in this playlist here. You can subscribe to our channel by clicking this button here. You can support us through our Patreon here. Thanks again for watching, and have a happy Thursday.